Pinyin, or Han Pinyin, is the official phonetic system for transcribing the Mandarin pronunciations of Chinese characters into the Latin alphabet in mainland China, Taiwan and Singapore. It is often used to teach standard Chinese, and a pinyin without diacritic markers is often used in foreign publications to spell Chinese names, familiar to non-Chinese, and may be used as an input method to enter Chinese characters into computers. The Han Pinyin system was developed in the 1950s based on earlier forms of Romanization. It was published by the Chinese government in 1958 and revised several times. The International Organization for Standardization adopted Pinyin as an international standard in 1982. The system was adopted as the official standard in Taiwan in 2009, where it is used for Romanization alone rather than for educational and computer input purposes. The word Han means the spoken language of the Han people, and Pinyin literally means spelled out sounds. History of Romanization of Chinese characters before 1949. In 1605, the Jesuit missionary Matteo Ricci published Zizikiji in Beijing. This was the first book to use the Roman alphabet to write the Chinese language. 20 years later, another Jesuit in China, Nicholas Trigo, issued his Shiruermuzi at Hangzhou. Neither book had much immediate impact on the way in which Chinese thought about their writing system, and the Romanizations they described were intended more for Westerners than for the Chinese. One of the earliest Chinese thinkers to relate Western alphabets to Chinese was late Ming to early Qing dynasty scholar official Fang Yizhi, the first late Qing reformer to propose that China adopt a system of spelling was Song Shu, a student of the great scholars Yu Yu and Zhang Tian. Song had been to Japan and observed the stunning effect of the kana syllabaries and Western learning there. This galvanized him into activity on a number of fronts, one of the most important being reform of the script. While Song did not himself actually create a system for spelling Sinitic languages, his discussion proved fertile and led to a proliferation of schemes for phonetic scripts. Sin Wen's in the early 1930s. Communist Party of China leaders trained in Moscow introduced a phonetic alphabet using Roman letters which had been developed in the Soviet Oriental Institute of Leningrad and was originally intended to improve literacy in the Russian Far East. This Sin Wen's, or new writing, was much more linguistically sophisticated than earlier alphabets, with the major exception that it did not indicate tones. In 1940, several thousand members attended a border region Sin Wen's Society convention. Mao Zedong and Zhu De, head of the army, both contributed their calligraphy for the masthead of the Sin Wen's Society's new journal. Outside the CCP, other prominent supporters included Sun Yat-sen's son, Sun Fo, Kai Yuanpei, the country's most prestigious educator, Tao Xingji, a leading educational reformer, and Lu Xun. Over 30 journals soon appeared written in Sin Wen's, plus large numbers of translations, biographies, some contemporary Chinese literature, and a spectrum of textbooks. In 1940, the movement reached an apex when Mao's border region government declared that the Sin Wen's had the same legal status as traditional characters in government and public documents. Many educators and political leaders looked forward to the day when they would be universally accepted and completely replace characters. Opposition arose, however, because the system was less well adapted to writing regional languages, and therefore would require learning Mandarin. Sin Wenzi fell into relative disuse during the following years. History of Han Pinyin. Pinyin was developed as part of a Chinese government project in the 1950s. One of the prominent figures was Zhou Yuguang, who is often called the father of Pinyin, as he led a government committee in developing the Romanization system. Zhou was working in a New York bank when he decided to return to China to help rebuild the country after the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949. Zhou became an economics professor in Shanghai, and in 1954, when China's Ministry of Education created a committee for the reform of the Chinese written language, Zhou was assigned the task of helping to develop a new romanization system. Hanny Pinyin was based on several pre-existing systems. "I'm not the father of Pinyin," Zhou said years later, "I'm the son of Pinyin. It's the result of a long tradition from the later years of the Qing dynasty down to today. But we restudied the problem and revisited it and made it more perfect." A first draft was published on February 12, 1956. The first edition of Hanny Pinyin was approved and adopted at the fifth session of the First National People's Congress on February 11, 1958. It was then introduced to primary schools as a way to teach standard Chinese pronunciation and used to improve the literacy rate among adults. Beginning in the early 1980s, Western publications addressing mainland China began using the Hanny Pinyin romanization system instead of earlier romanization systems. This change followed the normalization of diplomatic relations between the United States and the PRC in 1979. In 2001, the PRC government issued the National Common Language Law, providing a legal basis for applying Pinyin. The current specification of the orthographic rules is laid down in the National Standard GB T16159-2012. Usage: Pinyin superseded older romanization systems such as Wade-Giles and postal romanization, and replaced Jian as the method of Chinese phonetic instruction in mainland China. The ISA adopted Pinyin as the standard romanization for modern Chinese in 1982. The United Nations followed suit in 1986. It has also been accepted by the Government of Singapore, the United States' Library of Congress, the American Library Association, and many other international institutions. The speaking of Chinese geographical or personal names in Pinyin has become the most common way to transcribe them in English. Pinyin has also become the dominant method for entering Chinese text into computers in mainland China, in contrast to Taiwan where Bopimofor is most commonly used. Families outside of Taiwan who speak Mandarin as a mother tongue use Pinyin to help children associate characters with spoken words which they already know. Chinese families outside of Taiwan who speak some other language as their mother tongue use the system to teach children Mandarin pronunciation when they learn vocabulary in elementary school. Since 1958, Pinyin has been actively used in adult education as well, making it easier for formerly illiterate people to continue with self-study after a short period of Pinyin literacy instruction. Pinyin has become a tool for many foreigners to learn the Mandarin pronunciation, and is used to explain both the grammar and spoken Mandarin coupled with Chinese characters. Books containing both Chinese characters and Pinyin are often used by foreign learners of Chinese. Pinyin's role in teaching pronunciation to foreigners and children is similar in some respects to furigana-based books in Japanese or fully vocalized texts in Arabic. The tone-marking diacritics are commonly omitted in popular news stories and even in scholarly works. This results in some degree of ambiguity as to which words are being represented. Overview: when a foreign writing system with one set of coding-decoding system is taken to write a language, certain compromises may have to be made. The result is that the decoding systems used in some foreign languages will enable non-native speakers to produce sounds more closely resembling the target language than will the coding-decoding system used by other foreign languages. Native speakers of English will decode Pinyin speakings to fairly close approximations of Mandarin except in the case of certain speech sounds that are not ordinarily produced by most native speakers of English. J, Q, X, Z, C, S, Z, H, CH, SH, and R exhibiting the greatest discrepancies. In this system, the correspondence between the Roman letter and the sound is sometimes idiosyncratic. though not necessarily more so than the way the Latin script is employed in other languages. For example, the aspiration distinction between B, D, G and P, T, K is similar to that of English, but not to that of French. Z and C also have that distinction, pronounced as TS and TS. From S, Z, C come the digraphs SH, ZH, CH by analogy with English SH, CH. Although this introduces the novel combination ZH, it is internally consistent in how the two series are related, and reminds the trained reader in that many Chinese pronounce SH, ZH, CH as S, Z, C. In the X, J, Q series, the Pinyin use of X is similar to its use in Portuguese, Galician, Catalan, Basque and Maltese, and the Pinyin Q is akin to its value in Albanian. Both Pinyin and Albanian pronunciations may sound similar to the CH to the untrained ear. Pinyin vowels are pronounced in a similar way to vowels in Romance languages. The pronunciation and spelling of Chinese words are generally given in terms of initials and finals, which represent the segmental phonemic portion of the language, rather than letter by letter. Initials are initial consonants, while finals are all possible combinations of medials, the nucleus vowel, and coda. Initials and finals. Unlike European languages, clusters of letters, initials and finals, and not consonant and vowel letters, form the fundamental elements in Pinyin. Every Mandarin syllable can be spelled with exactly one initial followed by one final, except for the special syllable er or when a trailing r is considered part of a syllable. The latter case, though a common practice in some subdialects, is rarely used in official publications. One exception is the city Harbin, whose name comes from the Manchu language. Even though most initials contain a consonant, finals are not always simple vowels, especially in compound finals, i.e., when a medial is placed in front of the final. For example, the medials I and U are pronounced with such tight openings at the beginning of a final that some native Chinese speakers pronounce yi as G, and we acute I as wei, or wuei. Often these medials are treated as separate from the finals rather than as part of them. This convention is followed in the chart of finals below. Initials in each cell below. The bold letters indicate Pinyin, and the brackets enclose the symbol in the International Phonetic Alphabet. One Y is pronounced before U. 2. The letters W and Y are not included in the table of initials in the official Pinyin system. They are an orthographic convention for the medials I, U and U when no initial is present. When I, U or U are finals and no initial is present, they are spelled yi, wu, and u, respectively. The conventional order, derived from the Jian system, is finals. Standard Chinese vowels. The following chart gives the combinations of medials and finals based on an analysis that assumes just two vowel nuclei, and e. Various allophones result depending on phonetic context. In each cell below, the first line indicates IPA, the second indicates Pinyin for a standalone form, and the third indicates Pinyin for a combination with an initial, other than finals modified by and r, which are omitted. The following is an exhaustive table of all possible finals. 1. The only syllable final consonants in Standard Chinese are n and eng, and r, which is attached as a grammatical suffix. A Chinese syllable ending with any other consonant either is from a non-Mandarin language, or indicates the use of a non-Pinyin romanization system. 1 is written For other finals formed by the suffix I, Pinyin does not use special orthography. 1 simply appends r to the final that it is added to, without regard for any sound changes that may take place along the way. For information on sound changes related to final I, please see our #rules. 2u is written as u after j, q, x, or y. 3uo is written as o after b, p, m, or f. 4 weng is pronounced n when it follows an initial. Technically, I, U without a following vowel are finals, not medials, and therefore take the tone marks, but they are more concisely displayed as above. In addition, and syllabic nasals eng are used as interjections. Rules given in terms of English pronunciation. All rules given here in terms of English pronunciation are approximations, as several of these sounds do not correspond directly to sounds in English. Pronunciation of initials asterisk note on Y and W are equivalent to the semi-vowel medials I, U, and U. They are spelled differently when there is no initial consonant in order to mark a new syllable. Fangguan is Fangguan, while Fangwin is Fangwon. With this convention, an apostrophe only needs to be used to mark an initial A, E, or O. Xian versus Jian. In addition, Y and W are added to fully vocalic I, U, and U when these occur without an initial consonant, so that they are written Yi, Wu, and U. Some Mandarin speakers do pronounce A, J, or W sound at the beginning of such words, that is, Yi, I, or G, Wu, U, or Wu, U, Y, or Y, so this is an intuitive convention. See below for a few finals which are abbreviated after a consonant plus with U or Y. I medial. When C plus un, Wei C plus Ui, a Weng C plus ong, and U C plus U. Asterisk note on the apostrophe. The apostrophe is used before a syllable starting with a vowel in a multiple syllable word when the syllable does not start the word, unless the syllable immediately follows a hyphen or other dash. This is done to remove ambiguity that could arise, as in Xian, which consists of the two syllables xian, compared to such words as jian. Pronunciation of finals. The following is a list of finals in Standard Chinese, excepting most of those ending with R. To find a given final, remove the initial consonant. ZH, CH, and SH count as initial consonants. Change initial W to U and initial Y to I. For Weng, Wen, Wei, U, look under Ong, Un, Ui, U. For U after J, Q, X, or Y, look under U.